School of Management. And before we get started, I want to let you know that the first part of this session will be recorded. However, we're really mindful that we want this to feel a comfortable and safe environment for sharing. So when we reach the point that our speaker invites you to share about your experiences, we'll turn off the recording and I'll confirm that we've done that and let you know in the chat as well, so that you feel fully comfortable to share. You can also share your thoughts and questions in the chat box at any time. So please feel really encouraged to use the chat box. It will not be shared with the recording. We'll do our best to answer any questions you have today, either speaking out or in the chat. Otherwise, we'll follow up with you after the session. Just a little about the series that we're part of today. Today's session forms part of RSM Alumni Career Days. It's a series that's been created to provide career support to our alumni community with a month of online and in-person discussions, masterclasses, careers advice, and networking. So if you're curious about any of the other sessions, then I'll share more about that at the end today. So let's get started with a brief overview of today's session. Put simply, companies can fail if there's a culture where people don't feel able to speak out or be critical. Psychological safety is about creating workplaces where people thrive. Today, we'll learn from our expert alumni speaker about how to foster trust, encourage risk-taking, and build teams that aren't afraid to challenge the status quo. So whether you're a leader or a team player, this session will help you discover the practical tools to cultivate a culture of openness and drive innovation. And now I'd like to introduce Ornela Cianciarelli. I'm so sorry, Ornela, I did practice that.
That's
She's an
perfect,
alum.
Erika.
That's very kind. She's an alumna of both our IBA program and the MSc Global Business and Stakeholder Management. Ornella is a trained speaker and facilitator specializing in agile leadership, psychological safety, and equity and inclusion. After leading agile transformations and coaching at Unilever, she now works independently, helping organizations worldwide to foster trust, collaboration, and high-performing teams. Through engaging workshops and hands-on facilitation, Ornella empowers leaders to build inclusive, psychologically safe environments where innovation can grow and thrive. So, Ornella, thank you ever so much for joining us today. I'll now hand over the floor to you.
Thank you, Erika, and thank you to the whole alumni community. So I have 55 minutes with you. That's all, and that's only 55 minutes to talk about the number one predictor of team performance. So that's more than strategy, skills, or KPIs. So I thought, rather than start with slides and theories, I will first let you feel it. So let's feel what I'm talking about. So let's go and do this together. So if you feel comfortable in the space where you are, please close your eyes so we can go through this situation. So take a moment to close your eyes, breathe through your nose, in and out, relax, and let your mind land on this moment. You're sitting in a large meeting room. The air feels a little bit tense, or maybe just very still. There are about 20 people in the room. The manager, who is your director, is presenting the final phase of a project you have all been working on for months. The presentation goes on for about an hour. There are charts, there are metrics, there are launch dates, business expectations. He speaks with confidence, maybe even pressure. There's little space to speak. Every now and then he asks, "Hey, are you all on the same page? Is it clear?" But no one really responds. The meeting moves on. As you listen, something starts to bother you. There's this small technical detail, a risk that hasn't been properly addressed. It's not dramatic, but it could become something serious. You glance at the colleague, and they quickly look away. So you start thinking, Should I bring it up? What if I'm overreacting? Last time someone questioned the plan didn't end up well. He clearly wants alignment, no doubt. You feel this twist in your gut, your jaw tightens, you feel your hand start to rise, and then you lower it. You stay silent. So does everyone else. The meeting ends with smiles, green lights, high fives, go live dates. A few weeks later, what you feared becomes reality. There's a system fail. An incident happens. People running to fix it, and the thought hits you. I should have said something. Then in the hallway, someone from the meeting says quietly, I was also worried about that. And then another and another. It turns out you were not alone. You were not the only one. No one said anything. Of the space wasn't there, not by accident, but by design. So please open your eyes. You have closed them. Thank you for going and being there with me. Not always easy to sit down with this discomfort, but it's actually often where transformation begins. I'm wondering if it sounds familiar. Have you ever been in a situation like this, a situation where you saw risk, you saw a doubt, you had an idea, but you didn't speak up? You can give me a reaction on Teams, like on your hand, something that I can see you, write on the chat. Anyone? Does it sound familiar? I see some thumbs up. Anyone else? Yes, for sure. Sounds very familiar. Well, you're not alone. This happens to brilliant, competent, experienced professionals every single day. This particular story is not really hypothetical. It actually happened at Boeing. So there were multiple engineers who raised concern about safety of the 737 MAX aircraft. We had a special system. They feared it might confuse pilots in certain situations. But the type of organizations they were working in didn't really were kind of discouraging this dissents or disagreements. So there was no space to speak up. So the message was implicit and explicit, just don't slow things down. So most people stayed silent, and the result was actually 2 crashes, 346 people who have died, and one of the world's most respected companies lost billions in reputations and fines and lawsuits. Not because the engineers weren't smart, not because people didn't care or didn't see it, but it was actually because there was no psychological safety. There was no actually permission to speak up. So this is the reason why we're here today, and this is why we will be talking about this topic. I will share my screen if you bear with me for a minute. 2 clicks here, share. I see some comments on the chat, so I'm really happy that you are sharing. Please go ahead, feel free to share your experiences. I think it's very rich to share with each other. Because it happens in all types of industries, in all types of organizations. So please go ahead. So today we are going to speak about how to build a space where we all can speak up. My name is Ornela Cianciarelli, as Erika has introduced me. I'm Argentinian, living in this country for many years. So that's where my weird accent comes from. I'm sorry, bear with me. This is a mix of all languages that I speak. Been for the last 10 years working at Unilever, where I was leading the agile transformation, first for Benelux and then globally for nutrition. And I now have started my own organization, Softspace, where I help organizations and teams and individuals to go through transformations. And I work a lot on psychological safety. So I train leaders, I train individuals on what it is and how to build psychological safety. And I measure it. So I get a bit of report for them with statistically validated values so they can see how high psychological safety is benchmarked with other organizations. And this is because maybe I've been working as an agile coach for many years, and particularly at Unilever, where I truly thought, okay, it's really about having the right frameworks, the right methods in place, and support the organization through that. So we had KPIs, we had key results, and quarterly business reviews, so we could have the whole business aligned. What are we doing? What are we delivering and why? And we have, I don't know, Kanban boards, so we could make sure that everyone had focus on what had to be done. And we had retrospectives where we can learn and evaluate. So we had everything in place, right? So we were doing our homework. But then at some point, I started noticing that some people were quiet, that there were things actually going on that were not said, and I came to this quote. No one comes up with the best idea while when they are scared of being chased by the tiger. And that's what pressure really does. Pressure and fear does to us. It happens everywhere. It happens from startups to multinational. And I came to learn about psychological safety, which is actually that condition that allows people to take risks, to speak up, and challenge each other with a safety when doing so. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about why it's important, what psychological safety really is, and how you can build it, and then what. So we'll also think, okay, what will be your next steps, or what else can you be doing going forward with this knowledge? So psychological safety is the belief that we won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. Okay? Now, very often when I bring up this definition, I get to hear from people like, hey, Ornela, but wait a minute, this doesn't apply to us because we don't get any physical punishment. We are not being hurt. No one is doing anything to us. But there's a type of punishment or humiliation. So I hope in the spaces where you are working, no one is physically punishing you. But still, I'm curious to know from your experience, from the spaces where you work, what type of punishment or humiliation do you actually see in the work floors? Feel free to speak up or write on the chat. So what are we talking about? Fear of exclusion, exactly. Making in groups and out groups. Dismissing ideas. Oh no, let's just not listen. Like, oh, thank you for your idea, but not taking you serious. Yes. Everyone who thinks different. Or verbal body language, like eye rolling. Oh yeah, eye rolling or verbal whispering. Yes, that's another one, indeed. Even people laughing, right? Making jokes. Or another one that you often see is some people getting promotions only those people who have the same idea as the leader get promotions, for example. Discuss the joke, yes. Yeah. The head of partnership is unable to do this job, so I have to save him. Yeah. Ignoring your comments. Sometimes people tend to feel attacked if you raise concerns. Yes. Then they react not so sincerely or verbally attack to your concern. Totally. Taking it personal, right? Thank you. So this is exactly what we're talking about. This is what we are referring when we speak about being punished or humiliated. And there are four parts of psychological safety. So it's about inclusion and diversity. So it's about having an environment which really truly encourages a diverse type of thinking. So different types of opinions and different ways of seeing things. So all voices are heard. And you hear things like, oh, people in this team do not reject others for being different. And being different, we mean all types of diversity, right? So physically, mental, but also type of ideas and points of views. So it's about willingness to help. So you see in an environment where people dare to ask for help because they feel safe to do so. Also, people tend to help each other much more easier. So you hear things like it is easy to ask other members of this team for help. My unique skills and talents are valued and utilized. So it's about the attitude to risk and failure. So, if you are in a space where if you make a mistake, you're not being punished, then you might be more open to take risk and try new things and innovate and do things differently. So if you make a mistake in this team, you will not be held against you. It is safe to take risks in this team. So especially for all these organizations, look for innovation, right? How are you? How is a team or a person gonna innovate if they are scared of making mistake and failing? And it's about open conversations. So it's really about uh, saying things openly and honestly and sharing things to each other. So members of this team are able to bring up problems and issues and discuss them together. There's something which I also want to share with you because it's something I hear a lot. I've been doing these type of sessions and workshops with different levels of leadership. And one point that I hear, and it comes back very often in leadership teams, is like, nice, Ornela, very nice, this whole psychological safety thing, but you also don't want a team where people are too safe. So I don't want to have these people having, 10 times a day coffees and just not doing their job. Okay, so there's something to clarify here. There are two different variables. Let's see if this works. Hope this is working. If you can see this moving. I hope you can. So there's a variable on psychological safety, and there's one on motivation and accountability. So we are in organizations, I think we have quite an alignment that we want people to feel safe in motivation, accountability. So we really want people to be driven and to feel accountable for the work they're doing. Why? Because when it's low and psychological safety is low, for example, then we have this apathy zone, people who are just hope not to be even seen. They do their work and then they go away really quickly because I know it doesn't really matter what I'm doing. No one really cares what I'm doing, if I'm here or not. And if I do something wrong, I will really have a problem. So I'd rather stay there in the background very quietly. When the motivation is low and psychological safety is high, then we are in this comfort zone. And that's the 10 coffees a day, whatever, what these leads were telling me, right? So you take it easy, you're fine. No one is going to bother you. You're okay. So that's that comfort zone. The problem is when organizations get it really right and they do get people to be motivated and they do get people to feel accountable. So they know that they're owning the job they're doing, they know that there is a high impact and a result of whatever activity they're doing. So I'm a sales manager, and I know that if I do not get if I get the results for this month, my company will get really good, and if I don't, will be a very big impact. So I know and I own it, and I know the impact of my work. The problem is when I'm feeling that, but I also know that if I do something wrong, I will have a very big problem. I know that the manager will come to me. I know that my colleagues will be laughing about me. So I know that my work matters, that has a really big impact, and people are looking at me. So that's a space where you can get in this anxiety zone. And that's often the space we are when we get into burnouts or this type of well-being issues. So we really want to get away of this space. That's not a healthy space to be. So yes, we want people to feel motivated. We want people to feel accountable, but we need to do that in a psychological safe environment. So why? What happens there? When we are in a safe environment, then we feel comfortable to share mistakes. When we do something wrong, we can share them, we can talk with each other. Then as a team, we can learn like, hey, this went wrong. Okay, let's have a look at together. Let's see which learnings we can get from there. Then everyone shares these ideas. You get to better innovation, you get to better processes and decision making. You grow, but the organizational grows. So mistakes happen. That's the thing. We have mistakes. That's a failure happens. That's in the nature of many of the type of works we are doing, especially in the type of environments where there is a lot of uncertainty. So that's going to happen, especially if you're looking for innovation. It's about how are we going about. So what's the environment? Are we sharing the mistakes, or are we keeping them inside and go with the discomfort? Any questions so far? Good. Okay, so this is about what psychological safety is and why it's important, how it makes a difference. Now, I hope I've got you in. So it is important, it matters. Now, if you see that, then you might be wondering, how do we actually build it? So there are 3 stages to build psychological safety, and we will go through them. And I'm presenting this from the view that you are a leader, whatever type of leader that might be, but that you have team that you are managing. But if you're not, you can also apply this for any type of groups or organization or teams. So the first one is about setting the stage. And setting the stage is about framing the work and the role modeling. So when we are having a piece of work to be done, it's really important to build safety by being open and honest and transparent about the journey and the nature of the journey you're in. So what's the objective? Why are we doing what we're doing? Just be open and honest. This is what we're doing. This is the type of work. And this is what I'm expecting from you. Okay. I'm clear, I'm open and transparent. This is what I'm expecting. And this is the context. There's uncertainty. Uncertainty is in the nature of the work we're doing. So that means that we don't have 100% of information. So we might be making decisions which might go wrong, okay? Because there is uncertainty. That's what uncertainty actually means. In a world without uncertainty, you would exactly know if I do A, then I get B. If I do C, then I get D. And that's not the case. There's uncertainty. So we're gonna work with this information we have, this information we don't, and this is our decision we are gonna be making, and that might lead to failure. That might lead to we making wrong decisions, and failure is opportunity to learn. So if we see that as an opportunity to learn, so we can have much more curious mindset, and we can be much more transparent about the decisions we are making, what we can control, what we cannot control, and next time which things we can do differently. And it's also about role modeling. So how you show up really matters. And I keep confronting people with this. You want your team to be honest and be transparent, and you want your team to come up and tell you when they make mistakes and failures. And my question is often, how often do you tell your team, like, you know what, I don't know, I don't have the answers, or I'm also feeling a little bit distressed about this, or I also have my concerns, or you know what, I make the decision and actually it was wrong. We should have decided. So why would a team come to you with their doubts, with their vulnerability, if you are not doing it yourself? If it would be safe, why are you not doing it as well? So lead by example, be the role model, show up vulnerable and also human. If it's safe for them, it should be safe for you as well. Show it, show it. It's also about actively inviting for engagement. So it's about listening and letting people express their point of views. So actively asking for engagement really means asking good questions, truly listening. And it's about being curious and creating space for every voice. And every voice is really important, especially when we are working in environments which are diverse, environments where we have different cultures, different personalities, um, yeah, and also considering neurodivergent people, which might need other kind of stuffs. Some questions you can be using are, okay, what are the things? So coming up with an opinion, what are we missing with a proposal? What are we missing? Assume that you might be missing something. Just work with that assumption. It's quite safe. What other options could we consider? Who has another idea? Who has a different perspective? If you don't really see or you don't totally agree with what the other person is saying, you can ask what actually leads you to think so. Let them explain themselves, give them space. Can you further explain that? Or what's a concern you have about that? What do you think might happen if we did X, so something else? Or could you give us an example? Examples are really strong. It's very handy to ask for an example. If you're having one-on-one sessions, try to explore a little bit further. So a good question would be, what's the thing you see me doing that's helping me best contribute to the team? Hey, I want to know what I'm doing right. But the opposite is true. What is the thing I do that is distracting you from success? This is so strong. I've been asking this question quite a few times. First to leaders, like, do you know what are you doing that's distracting your team? Also the other way around, asking people like, what is your leader distract? And I get things like, they come, I'm working, they first give me a priority. I'm so focused working on that priority they gave me. And suddenly I get this phone call like, hey, can you please tell me what's the turnover of brand XYZ? Okay, that means I need to drop my priority and go and start searching because they were just wondering. Probably that leader isn't aware of the impact of that question. This is so important to ask. This is so important to know. What am I doing that is distracting you, actually? Another question, what's the one thing to know about you that will improve our relationship? What's the one thing you need from me that will enable you to be successful? Andy, what's the skill or talents you have that I have overlooked, undervalued, or underutilized? Hey, it might be some powerful skills there. And what motivates you? And how can we bring that more? These are all very handy questions. These are some examples, but feel free to make some notes and test them. Try them out. See what comes out from there. And I have this quote for you. So this is coming from the book My Years at General Motors from Alfred Sloan. And the quote reads, "Team, I take it we are all in complete agreement on this decision. There's a decision that has to be made. We're all in complete agreement. Then I propose we postpone further discussion of this matter until our next meeting to give ourselves time to develop this agreement and perhaps gain some understanding of what the decision is all about." So this guy, he's giving you time to reflect. Because what happens when there is silence, when no one is speaking up, you're taking two risks. One is that you might be doing the wrong decision. There must be something you're missing and people are not saying it. And you might end up failing while the other people knew the example of Boeing that we just said. The second possibility, that people don't even know what you're talking about. They don't even have a clue. But they don't feel safe to ask, like, what is this about, really? So a tip, if no one is picking up, ask people what things that can be changed or design for these disagreements. Do something. So questions to you. Which techniques, what do you know that you can be using to ask for these dissents? Who has some ideas? When I look at the chat. Let's play the devil advocate now. Exactly. That's a very good one. That's a very good one. You give the assignments, okay? I want you not to agree with me. Really good one. Anyone else? I'm going to give you some examples while you are thinking. So think of counter arguments, devil advocates. Exactly. You can also ask people to play the role of a different stakeholders. So like, hey, this is the decision. You are the customer. You are, I don't know, the employee. You are the government. So you give people different hats and you ask them, okay, what would you think? What would you see from that perspective? You can use post-its as an agile coach. I do that a lot. Why is it important? You give the space to people to think first, write down, develop an agreement, post the post-its. So you also give space for people who are more analytical. Do this also, like the quote we just saw. Let's give people time. So this is the idea. I pause. I want to see you tomorrow. So take time. Exactly. So share the plan in advance. Exactly. So you have time to think about it. I don't need you to have an opinion right now on the spot. Take time, then come after. Evaluate each scenario and defining positive, negative risks, opportunities for each. Let's play the Socrates dialogue. I never saw this in practice, Nadia. If you feel like telling a little bit more and know about the Socrates idea, please feel free to share with us. So you see, you can design for this. If you want it, you can get this, but you need to want, you need to dare to go for it. And the third one is about responding productively. So as Amy Emerson says, picking up is only the first step. The true test is how leaders respond when people actually do speak up. Stage setting and inviting participation indeed build psychological safety, but it involves response with anger or disdain. As soon as someone steps forward to speak up about a problem, the safety will quickly evaporate. So a productive response must be appreciative, respectful, and offer a path forward. And that's really important. So it's not only, hey, provoking and asking people to speak up, and then when they speak up, you look away or you ignore their the answer. Doesn't mean that you also need to do everything that Tim is suggesting, but it really means to be appreciative, to be respectful, and offer a path forward. So what are you going to be doing with that? And it leads to this idea of listen to understand instead of listening to respond. So really listen what's being said and what is being answered. So what happens is actually we listen almost at a double speed than what other people speak. Okay, so someone is speaking and I listen much faster. So there's this gap. Probably you can relate to this, and you know, and you experience that yourselves. There's a gap between what you're listening, what people is saying, and what you're listening. And that space, you're already making a story in your head. So that can be like a whole argument why you don't agree, or a whole association or analysis. So your brain is really busy with already replying on what you're going to say, what are your counter arguments, of what's the counter argument, what the person is saying. So your brain is really busy with that. And that space you're using for responding instead of for understanding. So one way of really helping you to listen to understand instead of listening to respond is asking for questions. So if you think like, well, can you give me an example? Or can you explain a little bit further? So that person will tell you a bit more details, which will give you the time and the space to really go much deeper into a story instead of being in your head with already the counter arguments and all the stuff you want to say. I don't know if you're familiar with radical candor, but it also talks about this from Kim Scott, so not from Amy Emerson, which we have been learning so far. She speaks about this idea of communication, and she talks about having being two different axes. One is about challenging directly, so that's about the message. So how you challenge or not challenge the message, and it's about how you care or not care personally about the person who is talking to you. So what she's saying is that, well, if you're being really indirect in your message on the feedback you're gonna give to the person who is talking to you, if you're being indirect and you are not caring about the person, you will end up being this manipulative and insincere, right? And that as a result, the person will not have trust in you, will totally mistrust you. So if you had a feedback for this person is not going to change because will not trust you as a person. If you're being really indirect and you do care and you are careful about how you bring in the message to the person, but you are really indirect, then this is erroneous empathy. So you're not gonna say what you want mean to say. So the person will start in their ignorance, will stay there, and they will also no change. It comes up actually that people are mostly nice, and most of us end up in these quadrants. So we are mainly nice, and we don't want to, and we don't bring the message, but it also doesn't bring any change. If you are high on the message, so you're really challenged, you're very direct on the challenge, but you're not caring about the person, you end up in this aggression part. So people will be very defensive and will also no change. So what she's saying is we need to be radical candor. So we need to be really clear about the message and at the same time care personally. Like, hey, you know what? This work I got from you, it wasn't up to the expectations I had. I actually was expecting this psychological safety presentation to be much more clearer. I expected some interaction and takeaway. I didn't see it from you. So I'm disappointed in that. How is it for you to hear this? How is from your perspective? How do you feel? I care about you. You see? I'm clear. This is not the level I was expecting from you, Ornella. This is not the level, but I care about you. How do you feel? So that's radical candor. So basically, what you're saying is be kind and be clear. So how you can build psychological safety in your team? Well, first, you need to set up the stage. So be clear about what's the work about, and also be a role model. Show it up. Secondly, you need to actively invite and engage people. Invite people to speak up. You have shared quite nice examples of techniques you can use. Design for disagreement, design for this. And when people speak up, you got people don't disagree. Now respond productively. Check the way you're responding. Now we know from science that if you want to change a behavior, you first need to start with a plan for yourself. You need to make it visible and social. You need to be accountable to someone else or have maybe an accountability partner. And you need to make it costly. So personal, meaningful consequences. So today, I'm going to invite you, because I understand that you care about this topic, otherwise you wouldn't be here. I'm going to invite you to think, to start working on this change. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to give you 2 minutes to think about what thing are you going to be doing to increase the psychological safety in your team. Whatever team you want to think of, it doesn't matter. Think of what we have learned and write down what thing, first thing for yourself, which thing you're going to be doing. You take 2 minutes to think about that because we will then continue the steps. Gonna take the time. Start now. And to connect it to the RSM, try to write it down as I will. Can you give me a sign if everyone is done? You notice that I cannot see if you're giving signs. We have already gone through minutes. I hope you could write something down because next I will ask you the following. My slides are not moving. Yes. So I'll invite you to write in the chat, to share in the chat what's the thing or things you will be doing to improve psychological safety, and to write your LinkedIn or your email because we will use it to make some accountability partners. So write in the chat your I will and how can your accountability partner reach out to you. And I'm setting LinkedIn, email, if you want to have phone number, whatever way you feel comfortable sharing. Thank you, Nadia. Wait, Julia, that's I guess it's very important for you this session then. I'm sorry the other people are also not present in this situation. Feel free to reach out if you want to have a chat. You can always have a one-on-one conversation. At least if you want to vent, that's also fine. Nice. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Martin, as well. Martin, I'm not sure if you shared how people can connect to you. Share your contacts. How can people reach out? Teresa, I'm seeing your message as well. Please feel free to connect if you like for a chat. So I hope, I'm not sure if everyone has written down, but my next invitation now is make some accountability partners. So choose from there someone in the chat. So the email address or the LinkedIn, whatever they have shared, and send them an email and say a message like, "Hey, do you want to be my accountability partner? This is what I will be doing." So choose someone there. And for the people who didn't write their commitment because they are not in a team right now, as we just shared, um, you can think of a team which is not work related, maybe your family, group of friends. That's also a group of people where you do have impact. So feel free to do that. And or you can also share your details if you want to be someone else's accountability partner. So I don't have right now something, but I can be your accountability partner, for example. So feel free to do that as well. I'm gonna give you some minutes to make your choice. You actually send the message now. Don't leave it for tomorrow because sometimes tomorrow never happens. And the next one will be making it costly, which is something very personal. So I don't think we're going to have the time right now to do this. But I do suggest to you to think about it. So that what does it mean doing this? What type of, which consequence can I attach for myself? And also, if you have the space for it, I also invite you to actually write it as a pledge and maybe share it with your organization, share it with your teams. Like, hey, you know what? I've been working on this, and this is my pledge. This is what I will be doing to actually increase psychological safety in the team. So feel free to make it feasible, to make it social, to share it in your organization and in your team. Some takeaways. So I'll summarize it here. So don't mistake silence for agreement. Recognizing that any new initiative, any project necessarily has uncertainties and risks. So get interested in what those are. Okay, they are always risks. You need to know what are those, and people know them. So go and ask for it. And constantly say things like, "What don't I know? What are you seeing out there?" Try to go and get that information. And remember that as a leader, you're not supposed to tolerate voice and input, but you need to welcome it. You need to go and design and search it. So this is all I had for you. If you want to continue working on this topic, please reach out. Maybe you're curious to know, well, I see a typo on the slide. If you're curious to know how high psychological safety is in your team, let me know. I tend to design journeys and also leadership workshops. So feel free, and we can make like a special package for alumni. So get in contact. And the floor is yours for any questions or comments you might have. We have a few minutes left for that.
Ornela, may I speak up?
Yes, please.
First of all,
Sorry,
yeah.
maybe Erika, if we want, so Erika, maybe we want to stop the recording. So
Yes,
if you want
we
to,
will do.
they can feel safe.